Halo, salam, selamat datang di bab 8, Bahasa Indonesia. Hello and welcome to chapter 8. This is Indonesian and this comes from my book, Do You Speak English? Indonesian is actually chapter 8 in the book. What I'm going to do is run through 12 fun steps for learning this language, and it's a fairly easy language, but it does have its grammar and tricky pronunciation as well. But these 12 steps will help you to get more motivated to learn the language. So it's not a grammar lesson for Indonesian. It's about getting stuck into the language. So what I'm going to do is I've got a list here in front of me. I'm going to quickly run through 12 of the steps for learning this language, starting with bagian satu. Number 1, siapa berbicara bahasa Indonesia? Who speaks Indonesian? Now, obviously, it's spoken in Indonesian by about 200 million people, and even though most people in Indonesia speak a different native language at home, nearly everybody in Indonesia, nearly 100% of the population actually speaks this language. So it's very important, whether it's at work, at school, on TV, it's there. So wherever you are in Indonesia, even if you hear another language inside someone's house, Bahasa Indonesia is the national language. So it's very, very important. In step 1, what I've done in the blog, and hopefully you're following the blog, this is the website here, is to show you who speaks it and who studies Indonesian as well. Now, a lot of people in Australia study Indonesian for obvious reasons because it's a neighbouring country. So that's step 1, learning about the language, why it is, where it is. Then we go to step number 2, bagian dua, and this is where we get a little bit closer, kota, the city. Now in this case I've chosen Medan, which is a city in Sumatra. It's a fairly large city, and in this clip you get to see a bit of the sights and sounds to make you actually feel like you're in the city, and that's what we want to do. We want to motivate ourselves to feel that we're actually there, and that's a really good way to kick-start a language, by imagining you're in the place. So that's number 2. Then what we do, bagian 3, number 3, we go a little bit closer, pasar atau jalan, so we go to a market or a street. Normally I would choose a market for all of these language clips. However, for Indonesian, I've noticed that a lot of the markets in Indonesia have very few written signs, and the point of number 3 is to see some of the written language, signs, street signs, shop signs, things like that. So I've gone for a street scene instead, and this is a typical street scene in Jakarta, which is the capital city of Indonesia. So that's step 1, 2, and 3, getting a little bit closer in terms of finding a place where you see the language. Then we go over to step 4, bagian 4, and that is televisi. So television in Indonesia is, like anywhere in the world, is very important for watching drama, for watching TV series that show us how people behave with one another. And the best word to look up on YouTube is this one here, sinetron, which basically means soap opera or TV drama. There are a lot of them in Indonesia of varied quality. Mostly love stories, but again, it's not so much the theme. It's more about watching people interact without subtitles, I must add, unless of course the subtitles are in Indonesian, because if it's in a different language, that will unfortunately slow you down quite a lot. So that's step 4. Now moving along to step 5, bagian 5, musik. Now, music in Indonesia has its traditional roots, mainly gamelan, which is instrumental. And I've avoided that because what we need to do is find some music that has lyrics. Now, surprisingly, with a lot of borrowed words in Indonesia from Dutch and English, that's how you say lyrics. So type in that word and look for the song words. I'm a big fan of Indonesian rock music, as opposed to a lot of more traditional types or genres. So I've left a list of some modern pop and rock songs in this language. Now, bagian enam, number 6, makanan. So that's food. Indonesian food is fantastic. Some of the dishes are well known, some are not. The most popular part or cuisine in this region is actually Padang or Makassar Padang, which is in Sumatra, and otherwise known as Minangkabau. And if you have a chance to try this food, it's delicious. So it's well known in Indonesia and a little bit outside Indonesia as well. This clip will go through all types of Indonesian food though. Okay, so bagian tujuh, number 7, memasak, which is cooking, how to cook the food. So just like number 6, learning about the food is important for learning a language. It's a part of the culture, the food, the music. And learning how to cook the food is not a bad idea either. And I've chosen something a little easy. It's nasi goreng, which, as most people know, is fried rice. And this clip will actually show you, without any speaking, just a recipe, how to follow instructions in a language, and hopefully the result will be something delicious. So that's number 7. Next one, bagian delapan, number 8. Sport or olahraga, which means physical activities. It doesn't have to be a sport with a ball. I've gone for the most popular option. Like most parts of the world, football is very, very important in Indonesia. And the clip is, if I remember correctly, it's a match between Indonesia and East Timor, or Timor or Timor-Leste, as it's now officially called. And it's important to point out they don't say football, it's sepak bola in Indonesian. So check out that. Watching sport is also as important as trying the food, listening to the music, seeing what people are passionate about in this part of the world. Next one, bagian 9, number 9, bioskop or film. So cinema is important as well to see. What's current, what themes, what topics actually make it into the cinema in Indonesia. And I've left a list of some really good examples. Bagian 10, number 10, orang-orang, which is people. Now, people, of course, native speakers are an important way of learning a language. And like most of these clips, what I do is I suggest Skype. Now go to the blog, you'll see a list of some websites where you can find some native speakers, and that will help. Bagian 11, number 11, bekerja, work. Now if this language is of interest to you because of work, I suggest having a look at some business vocab, and I've left a clip as which shows some graduates and what they have to say in Indonesian. Okay, quickly moving along, bagian 12, which is number 12, hubungan, relationships between people. Now, there are quite a few rifts between Indonesia and Malaysia, which is another language. Malaysian was very similar to Indonesian. Instead, I've chosen something on a more positive note, and that's to show you how people interact with each other in the same country. So that's the last step. So I'm nearly out of time here. So kirimkan saya komentar atau pesan. So if you could leave me a message or a comment dalam bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris. So in either Indonesian or in English. So that's all for now. The next clip will be in Korean. So I look forward to seeing you then. So until then, terima kasih, and see you next time. So ayo, sampai jumpa.